Yo!
What? No.
That was a knock. Oh! Whoa! Who the there? Ice chunks up there.
That thing that looks like a skull, the goat skull?
It's the only wildlife I've heard in a while, too.
Oh! Yo, that way. Something just broke a tree back there.
What would you do if something knocked back from the forest, then suddenly threw an object toward you? These Bigfoot encounters left investigators wondering whether the strange activity was random or something deliberately warning them to leave. This unusual footage comes from the 2001 IMAX documentary Great North, filmed in a remote region of northern Quebec. The crew was filming a large herd of caribou when something unexpected appeared in the background. For years, the details seems to have gone almost completely unnoticed. Roughly 15 years later, the mysterious figure was finally spotted and began attracting attention online. Behind the moving caribou, a large dark shape can be seen crossing the landscape. It appears to remain upright while traveling on two legs. Because the figure is far from the camera, identifying it clearly is impossible. Still, some viewers began questioning whether the IMAX crew had accidentally captured a Bigfoot. The YouTube channel Thinker Thunker, known for examining alleged Bigfoot footage, later analyzed the clip closely.
And we'll scroll him out a bit. And remember, we never see anything more than his head and torso. And if that is 4 foot, his head and torso appear a bit taller, which wouldn't that make him the tallest man on the planet? I mean, are 7 and 8 foot tall guys generally that fleet of foot? And how about this? What if this isn't 4 foot? Because remember, the male caribous get up to 7 foot in length. Anyway, suffice it to say that that is surely the largest cameraman ever in history. I think somebody should tell him, here's your movie. Point your camera at this guy.
Using the nearby caribou as an approximate size reference, he estimated that if the figure were a person, it might stand around 8 feet tall.
Okay, so next let's do speed. And look at our guy up there. He appears to just kind of be floating, doesn't he? What I did to give us a better idea of this was I marked one of the caribou so we could have an actual race. Sadly, it looks like the caribou won. This is a flat patch of earth they're running on here before they go back into the drink over here. You have to admit, for a 7, 8 foot or taller guy, he's incredibly fast and fluid.
He also compared the figure's movement with the running caribou. Although it appeared farther away and was crossing rougher terrain, it still seemed remarkably fast and unusually smooth. That led Thinker Thunker to question whether the figure was simply a crew member. He later interviewed William Reeve, the cinematographer who filmed the scene. Reeve explained that the crew consisted of only 9 people and that everyone was positioned on the same side of the river as the camera. No strangers, bicycles, four-wheelers, or crew members were moving among the herd.
The Great North, the movie, a long time ago, was a fantastic experience, and I learned how to build an igloo. The principal actor, Adami, the Inuit. We also went mussel fishing under the ice, the pack ice on the shore in the village that we were at, where the sea was lapping at us under this huge. That was quite an interesting experience because you're underneath thousands of tons of ice, and absolutely not. There were no strangers for hundreds of miles of where we were. Only 9 people, and we used 2 helicopters at the riverside, and the entire crew were on the riverside of the. Well, there were no four-wheelers, there were no bicycles, there was no one on foot, and there's absolutely no way that we would put a human being in that kind of world, rushing through his person. On the shot, would a film production risk the life of crew members like that, putting them out in the middle of the stampeding herd? Well, of course not. We had our share of close calls, I can tell you that much. in many different productions. Why did you stop? Why did you not stop?
According to Reeve, the figure did not belong to the film crew. So what was really crossing behind the caribou that day? Was it merely an animal appearing unusual from a distance? Or did the IMAX camera accidentally record a Bigfoot? The footage was uploaded on October 4th, 2019 by the YouTube channel Stargel Blackstar. Gino Mikas was hunting grouse alongside his wife and grandson in the forests of northwestern Ontario, Canada. The family was more than 50 kilometers from the closest town deep in wilderness, where moose, black bears, and wolves are commonly found. Gino had spent much of his life hunting outdoors, making him familiar with the sounds produced by local wildlife. But on that day, he heard something different.
Holy cow.
From deep somewhere in the forest, a long, powerful scream suddenly carried through the trees. At first, Gino believed it could have been a moose. Then the sound repeated several more times. The howls appeared to come closer to the family, and Gino could hear something moving through the surrounding woods. Whatever was making the noise seemed heavy. His wife became scared, lifted their grandson, and quickly began heading back toward the vehicle. As they walked away, Gino took out his phone and started recording. The unusual cries continued farther in the distance, while his grandson even attempted to imitate the sound. Gino later explained that he had heard many different animals throughout his years of hunting, but nothing had ever sounded quite like this. After the footage appeared online, viewers offered several possible explanations. Some believed the howls came from a large wolf, or perhaps a grizzly bear, while others connected the sounds to Bigfoot. Ontario wildlife biologists suggested the noise may have come from a large mammal, possibly a wolf, although the distance made a definite identification impossible. So what was producing those unusual cries in the Canadian wilderness? A known animal, or something much more difficult to explain? The most disturbing moment may be when you realize that whatever you were tracking might have noticed you before you noticed it. During this investigation, former military survival expert Russell Accord travels deep into a dense and unsettling forest. He believes he is following signs left by a creature that may have constructed a strange shrine concealed among the trees.
That doesn't happen by accident. Look how fragile it is. This space makes every piece of your body want to turn and run.
As Russell pushes through the thick vegetation, the forest around him becomes unusually silent. That quiet is soon broken by strange sounds coming from somewhere in the darkness. Each noise immediately puts the experienced tracker on edge as he considers whether something could be watching him from beyond the tree line. Russell lifts his thermal targeting scope and starts scanning the woods for concealed heat signatures. The investigation was later featured on Expedition Bigfoot.
I want to see if anything visits this space, because whatever put this structure together, whatever put these things in place.
Then something unusual appears. The thermal scope detects a large upright shape moving through the trees. Its bright heat signature reveals what seems to be a tall biped crossing the rough and crowded terrain with unexpected ease.
I want to know what did that.
Russell keeps following the figure, but without warning it begins to sprint. The creature moves through the dense woods at remarkable speed, weaving between trees in total darkness, and covering difficult terrain much faster than Russell believes an ordinary person could.
That thing that looks like a skull, the goat skull, it's got heat on it. How did that thing get heat?
Alone in the darkness, Russell begins to understand that, although he believed he was tracking the creature, it may have already known exactly where he was. Almost as quickly as it appeared through the thermal scope, the figure vanishes back into the woods.
That's not natural at all. How does something like that generate heat? It's a piece of wood in the middle of a forest.
For Russell, the investigation concludes with a disturbing possibility. Thermal cameras reveal differences in temperature, not the identity of what they detect, and thick trees can make size and distance difficult to estimate. Even so, the movement remains unusual. If you encountered this figure nearby, would you keep following it? On July 19, 2026, the YouTube channel Cursed Urban released a video titled Bigfoot Investigation Goes Wrong. He was following us. The footage follows the team as they venture deep into a remote, isolated forest where strange Bigfoot reports have repeatedly drawn attention. The group starts tracking a number of unusual signs while looking for potential evidence of the legendary creature said to roam these remote woods.
Yeah, but guys, tonight we are back in the Bigfoot forest. But there has been a recent uptick of sightings of Bigfoot all across the country. So we decided to come out here, we want to investigate, see if we can possibly capture anything on camera, because I don't think I've been there since around November. But yeah, let's keep it short. Let's get started. Let's see what we find.
Their objective is very simple. They plan to inspect unusual formations, follow any clues they encounter, and figure out what could be concealed farther inside the wilderness. As they travel deeper into the thick forest, the investigation grows more intense. Surrounded by dense vegetation and almost complete silence, the team keeps searching for anything that might indicate the presence of the mysterious creature. Eventually, they come across something unexpected between the trees. A strange structure is hidden in the forest, unlike anything they anticipated finding. Its existence raises an uncomfortable possibility. If someone or something intentionally built it, the investigators might not be alone.
So what some viewers have said is they think this could be like was trying to make something, or it was like a spot where they were just collecting random stuff, like hiking sticks. There's that weird. There's like a twisted. Like, look at that thing. That's straight up bent. Yeah.
Soon afterward, another mystery appears. A clear knocking sound carries through the trees, immediately making the investigators stop and listen. Although the sound appears to come from farther away, it is distinct enough to grab their attention and make the situation increasingly disturbing.
Yeah. Yo!
What? No.
That was a knock. You heard that, right?
At first I didn't, and then it processed.
That was what I was talking about. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Right back there, guy. Well, not right back. It was far. That was for sure a knock. Very quiet.
Later, while the team rests in an isolated section of the forest, another unusual noise comes from nearby trees. A second distant knock causes them to search for the source. Close to them, they find what seems to be a possible nest-like structure hidden among the vegetation.
Yo!
That's over there.
Dude, that's
right over there. Is that the
That's
nest?
where the nest is.
Let me pull my out. All right, we heard it like right somewhere over there.
Focus camera. The camera's not focusing. There we go. Yeah, it came from right. That sounded like a knock. That sounded like another knock, right?
Yeah.
Then the silence is broken again. Something suddenly hits the ground near where they are standing, sounding much like a rock striking the earth. The incident creates an even more unsettling possibility. Something concealed in the surrounding woods may have thrown it in their direction.
It's literally...
Bro, it sounded like a rock.
No, I saw something, dude. Something was thrown at us.
That scared the shit out of me.
No, something was thrown at us. You see
I
anything?
don't see shit. I hear a frog. That's the only wildlife I've heard in a while, too.
Oh! Yo, that way. Something just broke a tree back there.
Afterward, the team gathers their belongings and leaves the forest. Cursed Urban also states that he has no plans to return to this location again. Dense forests can make the direction and distance of noises hard to determine, while falling branches or rocks can naturally produce similar sounds. Even so, the repeated incidents remain unsettling. What do you think was really happening around them? On February 20th, 2025, Paranormal Discovery posted Lomar's solo investigation from the UNC Gold Mine District near Grim Valley, Nova Scotia, Canada. The channel focuses on paranormal sites, Bigfoot reports, and unexplained activity in remote wilderness. Lomar entered the abandoned mining area during a snowstorm, hoping to uncover signs of Sasquatch. But once night settled over the frozen forest, the storm was no longer the only threat around his campsite.
You know what would be cool? If an actual Bigfoot literally just walked up. I mean, maybe not in the dark. I mean, I really don't wish that right now. As much as I am here to Bigfoot hunt, Sasquatch hunt, whatever. I mean, just being alone, man, it's dangerous. There is a creepy vibe, right? I'm not just feeling that randomly. There is a very, very creepy vibe here. Oh, it's warm in here. I got this spirit talker. What the fuck was that? My blood. Okay. I have to shout out to the Philippines, man. My homeland. The Philippines.
I've been here 300 years. Evil.
Evil. Someone evil here? Was there evil casted by the indigenous?
Jess.
Talk to me.
He will affect everyone.
Am I in danger here? Oh shit. I'm gonna do my best out here. It's a lot more like annoying out here than it really looks on camera. It's just annoying to be outside. One of those days, you know, you want to be in, but you know what I'm saying? My journey has only begun.
After starting a fire near the edge of the woods, Lomar turns on a spirit box. One of the first words produced is evil. The device cannot confirm that anything supernatural is there, but the timing makes the isolated campsite feel more dangerous. Beyond the firelight, the snowstorm continues to obscure the trees and limit the surrounding area he can see.
Hello? Somebody there? Yo, this is actually trippy. Man, everything is iced over. It's actually like fucking ice. Everything. So I'm actually gonna listen for a bit. And then, cause I'm hearing like kind of this, like with the boots. Like just walking, but also like tree knock. I heard like a thump.
Before long, strange noises begin coming from outside the camp. Lomar hears what sounds like weight pressing into the frozen snow, followed by several sharp knocks. The sounds resemble footsteps and wood hitting wood. Wind can shift branches and knock snow from trees, but these noises seem separate from the sound of the storm. They also appear close enough to make Lomar pause and listen.
I've been hearing this weird movement in this way. So I'm wondering, like, somebody in there? Listen. Right there.
My name is Virginia.
Oh shit. What the? There's something moving back there. Hear that? It's moving.
Unexplained.
Oh shit. Snowstorm's coming in. What the hell? It's like in this area right here.
16.
I'm trying to be quiet so you guys can listen. Shit.
Am I dead?
Yes, you are. Guys, something is right in there. I hear it. I see like a shadow moving way back in there. Listen to that.
We live on here.
You live on? Am I in the presence of something more than a human? Like a creature of some sort? Holy shit, guys. Oh my god. What the hell? Something does not feel right. In there. I see it. I see something moving. What the fuck? I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to capture this the best I can. It's like in there. Like directly.
The activity soon becomes much more difficult to dismiss. Lomar lifts his flashlight and points it toward the dense bushes. Branches move, something shifts between the trees, and a large dark shape seems to pass behind the falling snow. He cannot make out a clear body face or outline. Still, the movement appears heavy enough to shake the brush and snap smaller branches. Afterward, the spirit box produces the word vengeful. Another response is interpreted as, "Am I dead? Yes." These phrases could be random outputs from the device, but their dark meaning increases the tension while Lomar watches the unexplained movement beyond his flashlight beam. Then the situation becomes more intense.
Oh! Fuck! Whoa! Who the f***'s there? I just started recording. No way, no way. I hope that footage caught that.
Suddenly,
Holy,
blissfulness.
what the Who is there? The hell? What the hell is like ice chunks up there? What the fuck? I think something just threw something at me. That was like a chunk of ice smoking the top of the Jeep. Fucking duck. Oh shit.
While Lomar films near the edge of the campsite, a hard object hits the roof of his Jeep with a loud metallic thump. The impact is clearly strong enough to make him react immediately. He cannot determine whether the object was ice or rock, or frozen debris knocked loose by the storm. Some Bigfoot researchers and enthusiasts connect thrown rocks or branches with territorial warnings. Under that theory, an unseen creature may throw objects near people to drive them away. However, the footage does not show the object's path, so there's no way to verify that it was thrown intentionally.
Guys, I'm literally in the presence of something right now, and I have no idea what the I do see bear tracks though, and I do have to admit though, bears do not hibernate through the winter here. One day it'll be like +2. The next week it'll be like sub-zero temperatures with a bunch of snow, right? So I do see black bear prints over there. That doesn't explain what hit the roof.
My body was taken.
I gotta chill out for a second. Listen. I'm gonna leave it.
Here.
I'm gonna leave it just like this for a second. There's like movement coming from. Oh. Okay. I think I gotta get out of here. The wind's coming. I gotta get out of here before I get covered in like a foot of snow. Or like spin out of here and get stuck for the rest of the night. It's close to me.
Soon afterward, Lomar finds black bear tracks in the snow near the campsite. This provides a realistic explanation for at least some of the footsteps and movement in the bushes. Although bears are often less active during winter, changing conditions can sometimes bring them outside. For Lomar, that possibility is dangerous enough by itself. He is alone, visibility is poor, and a large wild animal could be nearby. Lomar quickly collects his equipment and gets into the Jeep. Once the doors are locked, the spirit box produces one final disturbing word, ruination. He then drives away through the worsening storm, uncertain whether he encountered a bear falling ice or something else that stayed hidden among the trees. The bear tracks could explain the movement, while the storm might explain the impact. Still, the knocks and their timing led some viewers to suspect a territorial warning. Did Lomar encounter one dangerous animal, or were several different things surrounding his camp? Deep inside the forests of rural Pennsylvania, two teenagers spotted something between the trees that left them terrified. A short phone video captured a dark figure that neither boy could identify. The story was posted on Reddit by Lucas, a 15-year-old who recorded the encounter while exploring with his friend Gavin. The shaky, heavily zoomed footage shows a dense wall of trees. Before filming, the boys noticed a foul smell in the air. When Lucas pointed his phone toward the brush, a huge, dark figure could be seen crouching low behind the branches. It appeared to be looking directly toward them. During the final seconds, the figure stood up into a tall, human-like position. It then quickly moved deeper into the forest and vanished. Lucas and Gavin stayed quiet, too frightened to respond. Later, they considered whether the figure might have been a bear or another person. However, its apparent size and human-like movement convinced them they had wandered into Sasquatch territory. Still, limited visibility could have affected how the figure looked. Was it an animal, a person, or something unexplained? A hunter captured footage that would be analyzed for years. Concealed behind thick branches, a huge dark figure seemed to be ripping apart a tree until one sudden movement caused the cameraman to flee. Filmed by Josh Highcliffe in October 2013, the video later became recognized as the Mississippi skunk ape footage. The encounter starts as Highcliffe makes his way through a dense waterlogged swamp while looking for game. The quiet is suddenly interrupted by heavy repeated thuds nearby. Highcliffe stops after realizing that something large is disturbing the vegetation just ahead. When he points the camera through the branches, a towering black figure can be seen near the base of a large cypress tree. The figure seems to pull large chunks of wood from the trunk. Its arms move with a slow, powerful force, suggesting significant strength. As it shifts its upper body, the footage appears to show a broad chest, unusually long arms, and a thick layer of dark hair. Highcliffe stays dangerously close while recording through the dense vegetation. The situation becomes more disturbing when the figure begins changing its position, as if it may be preparing to stand upright. As the body shifts, its apparent height and muscular build become easier to make out through the branches. Overcome with fear, Highcliffe stops filming, turns away, and runs through the swamp to leave the area. The Mississippi footage has interested Bigfoot researchers for years, but the figure remains unidentified. Dense vegetation and camera zoom could distort its size. Was it a bear, an unknown primate, or something else? On July 7, 2025, the YouTube channel Exploring with Bear posted footage from another remote camping trip. This was not the couple's first camping trip, but it may have been their last visit to this forest. Over time, Jer Bear has gained an audience by exploring remote and hard-to-reach places in search of things that are unusual, mysterious, and sometimes frightening. This trip, however, seemed different.
My beautiful wife, Tiffany, has agreed to come out Bigfoot hunting and camping with me tonight. And we pulled over. There's a lake and woods all around us right now. Right now, we're out in the middle of like nowhere. So she don't really know. Anyway, where psychopaths have attacked before. This is where the tent that got mangled of mine, and I had to get a new tent and everything.
You said we were going somewhere safer.
Well, it's been a year and a half. Time heals all wounds. That's a long time. You know, what's the chances of another psychopath showing up tonight? By the way, we're on a road where there's hardly ever any cars to go down. Till now.
Jer Bear was not by himself. His wife Tiffany came along, making the isolation feel even more significant. Jer Bear was already familiar with the area from an earlier experience. It was a densely wooded region, surrounded by lakes and thick tree lines, a place he openly considered Bigfoot territory. That idea did not come entirely from local stories. During an earlier solo trip, Jer Bear said his tent had been severely torn apart. At the time, he could not tell whether a person or an animal had caused the damage, but the event stayed in his memory. As they neared the campsite, they noticed another unusual detail. 2 large trees had been bent across the trail in positions that looked unnatural. Jer Bear immediately paid attention to them.
So Duber, I did another thing for you earlier. I came out here, I knew this place is out in the middle of nowhere. So, and I'm glad I did, because now it's night. So I had to remove like 2 trees out of the road, and then we'll have to look for more. But bent trees, weirdly bent trees. And that's right by the campus. And then the 2 bent trees. So wait till you see it. I'll show it to you. But it's so pretty interesting right off the bat. We got to walk through like tick magnets. And it'll be nicer. It'll be nicer to move around the camp.
In Sasquatch stories, bent trees are sometimes described as territorial signs or warnings. After setting up their camp, Jer Bear and Tiffany first tried to keep the mood relaxed. Tiffany admired the lake, while Jer Bear brought out his love box, which was filled with snacks and comfort food. He kept things light, though it was clear the location remained on his mind. Jer Bear remembered another visit when he had left an apple in the woods, and later captured strange, unidentified noises with his night vision camera. As daylight disappeared, the mood began to shift. The lights on their vehicle suddenly flickered, which seemed unusual because the car was parked and switched off. Then a single gunshot echoed from somewhere deep in the woods.
Oh, come on.
Just a gunshot.
Oh my gosh, no!
Oh.
Who shoots a gun at 11 o'clock at night?
That's what just crossed my mind when I heard it. Or psychopath. They're out here.
It was not extremely close, but it was not far enough away to ignore. The sound made Tiffany tense, and even Gerbear, who usually pushed through uncomfortable situations, began showing real concern. Other strange details had drawn their attention earlier that day. While exploring the area, they discovered an old satellite dish partly buried beneath the vegetation. Nearby, pieces of fencing and other debris were scattered far from any obvious property or established trail, suggesting that someone may have used the area long before they arrived. The trees continued to stand out. Several trunks looked bent or twisted, with many leaning in similar directions. Gerbear repeatedly pointed them out, believing there were too many to dismiss as simple coincidence. For anyone already open to Bigfoot, the forest was beginning to feel increasingly meaningful. Tiffany, normally calm, had difficulty hiding how uncomfortable she had become. She felt there was something wrong about the area, not merely frightening, but unnatural. Gerbear continued using humor to reduce the tension, but he did not strongly disagree with her. His own behavior suggested he was becoming uneasy. His jokes slowly faded, his voice became quieter, and his attitude grew more serious. He had spent many nights exploring cemeteries, abandoned structures, and dark caves. Yet something beneath these trees seemed to affect him in another way. Whether Bigfoot had anything to do with the experience remains impossible to determine. But that night clearly made a strong impression on Gerbear and Tiffany, along with many viewers who shared that growing feeling of unease with them. Bent trees can be caused by natural forces or older damage, so by themselves they prove nothing unusual. But when combined with everything else that happened, would you dismiss this campsite as coincidence? Or would you avoid coming back too? Uploaded on July 7, 2025, the footage comes from a new YouTube channel named Shadow Hollow, which seems to follow the creator's first attempts at exploring the woods alone. At the start, the uploader says he was not anticipating anything unusual. His plan was simply to take a nighttime walk, try out some equipment, and perhaps capture a few scenic shots. But the recording quickly becomes much stranger. As he walks through the thick forest, his flashlight offers only a narrow view ahead. There is no music or additional narration, only leaves crunching under his feet and occasional branches breaking somewhere deeper in the woods. Then something briefly becomes visible in the distance.
The fuck? Just gonna ignore that. There's the next path. Here it is. Right. Just gonna have to cross over this. The fuck? scared, guys. The fuck was that? Strange.
At first, it's hard to determine exactly what appears on camera, but farther ahead, two dim glowing eyes can be seen reflecting the beam of his flashlight. Rather than immediately moving away, the figure seems to stay upright and still. The uploader later describes the sight as a tall humanoid shape with unusual proportions. It makes no clear sound and appears to simply observe him from between the trees. Obviously uneasy, but still attempting to record the encounter, the explorer remains at a distance. After observing it briefly, he slowly retreats and stops recording. His reaction suggests that whatever he witnessed had genuinely scared him. Part of what makes the footage disturbing is how simple it appears. Without dramatic effects or complicated editing, it only shows a lone explorer encountering something he cannot identify. The creator says he intends to return, but could those glowing eyes have belonged to ordinary wildlife? Or was something more unusual watching him? That's it for tonight. Which moment creep? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story, share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.